G'day again everybody, and we are still working on some 5.2 trigonometry. In this video we are going to learn how to solve for the denominator. So previously our unknown values have always been in the numerator, so the top of the fraction. So when we've done that, we've just multiplied by the denominator and got our solution. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to quite work the same way for us now, but what we really need to do, so our ultimate goal is to make the unknown what we call the subject. So that's the bit that's on its own, is the subject, okay? So we won't need to make the unknown the subject. So in our little example here, we have a hypotenuse, an opposite side and an adjacent side. Using SOHCAHTOA, using SOHCAHTOA, we are going to decide which ratio we're going to use. Now, we have a hypotenuse, so we're not going to be using tangent. We don't have a value for the opposite side, so we're not going to be using sine. We do have a value for the adjacent side, so we are going to be using cosine. So we start with our formula or our ratio. That way we know exactly where we need to put things. Use our angle of reference, 30 degrees, and then we have 5 over x. Now if we follow what we've been doing previously, we need to multiply by x. Okay, and that gets us x cos 30 equals 5. But we don't have that unknown on its own yet. X isn't on its own yet, so we need to do another step. Now what we're actually doing here is we're multiplying by cos 30, so we actually need to divide by cos 30. So that will then give me x equals 5 over cos 30 in order to work things out. Now if you notice, what's actually happened is the x and the cos 30 have actually swapped places. Alright, so notice that the unknown denominator has just swapped places with the ratio. Okay, so that's all you really need to do. That whole third line there should really be somewhat superfluous or a little bit more than what we need. Okay, it's just the inner workings, the inner mechanics of what's happening. So let's have a look at it a little bit in action. We're going to use this equation now to solve for x. Cos 35 degrees equals 2 over x. Now, if you remember that cos 35 and the x, all they have to do is switch places. Okay, all they have to do is switch. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go x equals 2 over cos 35. You can see they've switched. And then that fraction is what I pop in my calculator. So let's pop that in. Okay, so we have our fraction key, 2, go down, cos 35 bracket equals, and we have 2.4415, etc. Alright, we actually want 2 decimal places once again, so I cut it off at the second decimal place. The next number along, well, that's below halfway. So our final answer will be 2.44, because that 4 gets to stay the same. That's it. That's all we have to do. When you're solving for the denominator, just switch the places. Let's look at the next one. We have a hypotenuse, the opposite and the adjacent. No adjacent sides there, but we do have an hypotenuse, so we're going to use sine. Okay, so we have sine of theta equals O over H. So it is sine of 35 equals 5 over X. And again, we're just going to swap those places. So X equals 5 over sine 35. Okay, now let's bring up our calculator again and clear it. Fraction key, because I need the fraction up. 5 sine 35, close my bracket, equals, and I get 8.17 or 7172. 8.7172. Still our 2 decimal places. So I cut off that second decimal place. Look at the next number along. This one is above halfway. So I need to make my 1 in that second decimal place go up by 1 value. So it'll be 8.72. One last one, just so we get the hang of it. Alright. We have the hypotenuse, an opposite side, and an adjacent side. Now it wants us to find the 2 values. So we're going to do this twice. I'm just going to whip through it, see how we go. I'm going to find the value of X first. To find the value of X, I'm going to need my tan ratio. Get the tan ratio going. So I'm going to have my reference angle. Opposite is 19 over X, which is the adjacent. I switch my sides. And I get my 19 over tan 28. Jump onto my calculator. Get my number there. Know how far I need to go, which is 2 decimal places. I am below halfway. So I get to stay the same. 35.73. Now I want to find the value of y now. I'm actually going to use the sine ratio. Because that's the nice whole number that we've got. Okay, again, we're just going to swap those places. Now remember, this only works if our unknown is the denominator. If our unknown is the numerator, previous video for that one. And there we have it, 4.4710 or 40.4710. Go to my second decimal place. Once again, below halfway. So I'm 40.47 units. That's it. That's all there is to it. Good luck with those questions. See you in the next video.